Now, dangerous nuclear escalation by Vladimir Putin over European skies comes to light. In fact, Sweden has revealed here that earlier this month, Russian bombers armed with nuclear warheads entered European Union airspace before being intercepted by Swedish fighter jets. Swedish media reports 4 of Vladimir Putin's Sukhoi warplanes swooped in over the Baltic towards the island of Gotland in Baltic Sea. 2 of the bombers were identified as Russian Su-24s, which were found to be carrying nuclear warheads. They were escorted by 2 jets, possibly Sukhoi 27s. The Su-24 bombers, as the images show here, were with a single stabilizer tail. They were armed with nukes, as per Swedish claims, and even European and Australian media reports. 4 Russian jets were intercepted by 2 Swedish JS-39 Gripen aircraft, which forced them to finally return. Russia's move is now seen as an intimidation tactic to arm twist Sweden after it pledged military aid and anti-tank weaponry for Ukraine. Let me quickly cut across to Gaurav Sawant joining us live from Irpin. Gaurav, this is huge revelation by some parts of the Western media to say that Putin sent out some planes right into Western airspace and almost in a bid to threaten Sweden because they tried to aid Ukraine with some anti-tank, in fact, some ammunition to defend themselves against the Russian onslaught. How true is this claim?
This India Today special broadcast comes from Irpin, and we are standing right where the Russian forces and the Ukrainian forces have been engaged in pitched battles just till some hours ago. In fact, this is a Russian vehicle. Remember, these Russian vehicles with the V mark are the ones that have been in this area. We are at the front lines of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Though Russia has announced that it is ceasing operations in and around Kyiv and Chernihiv, the ground reality as of now, the Ukrainian forces are taking no chances as they move forward inch by inch to regain territory in Irpin. If you look around me, you have the forces on ground who are moving forward. The snipers, the pioneers and ground forces are moving forward, and we are moving forward with them. The information is that the Russians have retreated just hours ago in this area, and this vehicle was targeted just a short while back, prompting the Russians to retreat, indicating the fact that the Russians are now retreating in this area. There you see, if cameraman Lalit Joshi shows you these, look at that. That's with anti-tank guided missiles. You have soldiers who are deployed here, moving forward inch by inch. This place is heavily mined as of now. So we've also been told to be very careful where you step. Now, just look around. That's another Russian vehicle that's been targeted. It's lying mangled and destroyed here in Irpin. We are moving forward with the forces as of now. The Ukrainian forces are moving forward inch by inch, and this is a thickly forested area. We are with the Ukrainian army. This is not the militia. This is not the civil defense. This is the Ukrainian army that's now moving forward inch by inch in this territory. This is where, if you notice, buildings destroyed, homes shattered, everything lies in ruins as of now as they move forward in this area. This situation here is extremely grim. It's extremely tense. Why is it tense? Because while the Russians have moved forward, have retreated in some areas, and the Ukrainian forces are moving forward, we still do not know where have the Russians gone. This is like the final point so far till the time that the Ukrainian forces now decide to move forward. They have to clear every building as they regain territory. Why they're doing this very slowly? Because some of the buildings, doors are mined, roads are mined. There is no clarity on where the Russian forces could be. Now look at this forest. They could be hiding in these forests. There could be snipers in this forest, plus the built up area. This is how operations are proceeding, very cautiously and very gradually. The Russians are moving forward, but are they reorganizing to hit back we still do not know. If you look just behind me, you can still hear some kind of a blast, and we do not know whether this is a controlled blast that's happening to defuse the mines that have been laid in this area. As the mines are found, they are neutralized, and then the forces move forward and every area is cleared. But no chances are being taken. Why are no chances being taken? Because the apprehension is, while the Russians may say they are moving back, but are they actually moving back? There is no clarity on that just as yet. A shattered building, troops deployed, but making it very, very easy here. The pioneers, of course, if you look, they have their binoculars, they have their devices, they check, they scan, the pioneers move forward, clear an area, and only then are they moving forward. Also, look at the kind of ammunition that have been used all along in battles that have been fought just moments here, and the kind of ammunition that's just lying around here shows you the kind of battles that have been fought on ground, Nabila.
Gaurav, I can only imagine the kind of threat and scare that looms over several parts of Ukraine. Irpin is one where we see heavy shelling that's happening, and that's where you are. Really worry for you and your safety, Gaurav, but thank you very much. Really appreciate you, again, standing against all odds to bring us those factual reports. But what's scarier right now is that somehow Russia has been constantly flexing its nuclear muscle, not just to Ukraine, but also to the West. And from the latest that we see is that two of Russian planes has entered Sweden airspace, only in a way to intimidate Sweden against sending any kind of military aid to Ukraine. How far is this information true as per, we are going by Western media reports, but is this a fact?
So what we are hearing is Sweden did promise Carl Gustaf and the kind of weapons that you see here. What are the weapons that the Ukrainian army is fighting with? They're fighting very bravely. There is no denying that fact. They're fighting to ensure that they regain their territory. There is no denying that fact. But what are the weapons they're fighting with? They've got the Javelin ATGMs, anti-tank guided missiles. They've got the Stinger surface-to-air missiles. Now, they've also got the NLAWs ATGMs that have been given to them, and they were looking for Carl Gustav's extremely potent man-portable weapon systems that can stall the advance. So, for example, vehicles like these or tanks or armored personal carriers, they can be stalled on roads like this. And this is actually surreal, the manner in which this battle is being fought to regain territory. For example, Irpin becomes very crucial to protect Kyiv. In Irpin, these Carl Gustavs would have been very handy. So would have been the NLAWs or the Starstreak surface-to-air missiles that UK has now promised. Russia is trying to browbeat these countries, especially countries like Sweden, not to get involved. So NATO countries are helping with their weapons. But if Sweden were also to help, Russia is trying to send out a message that you cannot help Ukraine in its fight. Now, and Sweden claiming that, a Su-24 was sent, and that too armed with nuclear weapons, is a very strong signal, because that sends a shiver down anyone's spine that nuclear weapons are being brandished in this war. The way Russia is threatening that if NATO gets involved or other countries get involved in this battle, they will use those weapons, and that kind of is a deterrent. Then other countries, they pull back. Instead of helping Ukraine, it's only the NATO route that is subsequently used. And even NATO countries, Poland, for example, promised the MiG-29s but did not deliver them. And only defensive weapons are being given to Ukraine for them to fight this battle with Russia.
Gaurav, this is 36 days of war, and so far we see both countries trying to come to an agreement on ceasefire, but that hasn't happened. Shelling and firing still continues even till date, even though Russia finally agreed to move its focus to the Donetsk region. What's the situation like around Kiev?
So this morning, Kyiv is peaceful, and we have a number of soldiers. We've been trying to speak to them, but, they're saying as of now, until they get their orders from their senior commanders, they cannot speak to media at a time till they've cleared this place. Unless they've cleared this place, they do not want to, talk to journalists. They haven't yet cleared Irpin completely, in the sense that while soldiers are telling us that they can see Russian tanks and Russian personnel move back. There are some reports that seem to indicate that it's not just in Irpin and Bucha, but even beyond, the Russians are reorganizing themselves, perhaps moving back. Is this a tactical retreat, or are they actually moving back to Belarus, as some reports seem to indicate? Need to be verified. So Kyiv is peaceful. Yesterday, when we were about 30 kilometers short of this area, today we are right at the front lines, because beyond this is territory where even the Ukrainian forces haven't gone just as yet. We are right at the front lines and with the Ukrainian forces. Beyond this, they still need to verify whether the Russians are moving back. There are peace talks that are to be held in Turkey 1st April onwards. Now, that's the next round of talks. Russia says they will de-escalate the targeting of Kyiv and Chernihiv as a goodwill gesture, as a confidence-building measure. That appears to be happening here as of now. Plus the humanitarian corridor that's been created in Mariupol. That's again a positive signal that's going out from Russia. But Mariupol has been devastated. So have these places. I mean, just look at the destruction all around Irpin. It's like completely shattered. Most buildings and most homes lie abandoned at this point of time in this area. This shows how bad and how precarious the situation is right now in Irpin and Bucha. It'll be a long time before people can come back to their homes, because again, you hear another explosion. So we do not know what kind of an explosion is this. Is this a controlled explosion in the sense that mines are being diffused, or some explosive device has been found somewhere that's being diffused, or is it some hostile action? That there will be more clarity on that. But given the fact that some of these officers and soldiers are calm in their approach, is an indication that this place perhaps now has been sanitized.
You know, this is exactly the same place, Irpin, where you are, where close to 200 people have been reported dead. Gaurav, we know that civilians there are trying to desperately flee from those combat regions, but also there were some glimpses of some hope where we saw people returning back and getting along with their regular day-to-day activity and their business. Who are these people? Do they believe that this war will end soon? Do they have faith in situations to improve?
In Kyiv, people are returning home. In Kyiv, there are people who want to rebuild their lives. In Irpin and Bucha, just not as yet, because some people may want to return home. Some people may be thinking of returning home, but the destruction that we see around is an indication. We are being told to move back right now by the Ukrainian army personnel. So we are moving back a little, because there is some movement. We cannot show you there is some military movement that is happening right now. So they're asking us to move back. But like this vehicle or this house or the houses behind, to restore them will take some time, and that is why there is still no clarity on how soon will people be able to move back. Because if I may, just look on the other side where you have homes. Those homes have also completely been shattered and abandoned. It will take a long time, at least, for people to be able to return to this area, Nabila.
You know, Gaurav, we know that it's slightly difficult for you to pan that camera and show us what's behind. But how hard is it for you to be doing your job there amid all that shelling and bombardment? Ukrainian forces, are they really welcoming the media to cover them extensively? Because we know that this is a do-or-die situation for the Ukrainian army. On one hand, they've got to release information about the status of this war. On the other, they do not also want to reveal their hideouts, their zones and their defense points. How are you really towing that line?
So we are being very careful, and they watch our coverage on mobile phone. They watch our coverage to know what you've been writing, what you've been saying, what have you been putting out even on social media, and they're watching it very carefully. So we've got access because, we've been here for over a month now. We've been interacting with officers of the Ministry of Defense, not even some other journalists, they tried to come here. They were stopped, but we were permitted. We're in our own vehicle and moving with friends, moving with people who know the lay of the land very well. So, you know, if you're with locals who they trust, you're allowed to move. If not, then there is trouble. And the fact that they asked us to move right now is because there is some military movement that is taking place, which means they've sanitized this area and now they're moving forward to sanitize more area. And this is how they're moving forward inch by inch to regain their territory. So if they trust you, they permit you to come. If they don't, then you're held back in the urban areas. And a lot of people are not able to move. We are able to move with them. They actually designate a lane which is safe. Even you cannot just walk anywhere in this area because there could be anti-personnel mines anywhere here. On this track, there were anti-tank mines that were here. Those anti-tank mines have just been cleared, and then there is movement permitted. So the vehicle that we are in, the vehicle that I'm driving, you know, they tell us, okay, this is the lane that is clear. You can come with us, you can follow us, but we follow you. You have to go at a pace that they decide, clearing every area. So that's the way we've been able to move and operate in the past 1 month plus now, Nabila.
Gaurav, you know, from what we see here, Ukrainians have been putting up stiff resistance in the face of this kind of might that Russia has been boasting of. We're speaking of millions of their armed forces versus a bare minimum, a bare million that Ukraine had in terms of military might. I'm speaking of the number of a number of soldiers who are fighting for their country. While we're seeing that equation, how on the 36th day has Ukraine really managed to maintain this defense and resistance?
So Ukraine has its own forces. Its armed forces plus the militia plus the civil defense plus foreign legions, and you know, they are only protecting what must be protected because a lot of territory has also been ceded or lost as of now. So if we were to talk about territory in the east, yes, they have lost Mariupol to the Russian assault, and that is because there was an intense rocket, missile, artillery assault, air attacks followed by ground forces and armored columns coming in, and whether it's the Ukrainian army or the Azov battalion, they tried their best to hold on to Mariupol till the time that they were pushed out or were just at the outskirts, or there are some pockets of resistance. As far as this place is concerned, Kyiv is very well protected. I mean, we have the numbers, but a large number of Ukrainian army personnel and civil defense personnel are guarding Ukraine, and it has been divided into various sectors. There are sectors that are under the army, there are sectors that are under the civil defense, and there are sectors that are under militia. It's being very effectively protected. Plus, you have people that are protecting the flanks. You protect the flanks, the core is protected. So, you know, these are the people who are actually, you know, this was the team that actually escorted and accompanied us. They are now on their way out. So, in a way, now we are on our own in this very difficult battlefield at a time when it is said that there is some action or some information of movement happening on the other side. So, this is a very precarious situation and a very difficult battlefield where you see, you know, seesaw battle happening. There are times that some area has been lost and regained, and then there are times that area has been completely lost to be regained only later. But the finer aspect on this is that the Ukrainian army is not giving up. Their artillery, their armor, their grads, and their ground soldiers, they continue to fight to regain territory that may have been lost, including this Irpin and Bucha. Right now, Irpin had practically been lost, but is being gained inch by inch every day.
You know, Gaurav, thank you very much. And again, appreciate you braving all those odds and bringing us those factual ground reports right from that combat zone of Irpin near Kiev. Please do stay safe. Now, as the war intensifies across Ukraine, both countries have now seen heavy damage to their weaponry. India Today's Geeta Bohan found the Russian tanks that were heavily damaged by Ukrainian army, but eventually now they're trying to bring it back to life, repairing it. Let's have a quick look.
Amid massive shelling and bombardments over here, we found this tank, a Russian tank, that was hit by the Ukrainian side. We're in one of the undisclosed locations where these tanks are being brought in. They will be repaired, is what officials and officers over here are saying, and then sent back to the front. So massive damage being caused by both sides, the Ukrainian forces as also the Russian side, when it comes to the war that is underway between Russia and Ukraine. One such tank over here, but there are many that come for repair over here, and then once repaired, they send back to the front line. With video journalist Satya Rautre, on the way to Gorlovka, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
Now, locals in Donetsk are angry, calling the government in Kiev as fascist. Locals urge for peace in the country. Elena, an elderly woman, believes that Ukraine and Russia can develop friendly relations. Here's more on that.
Elena, there's a big problem between Ukraine and Russia and Russia. What does she have to say?
Никакой проблемы нету. Россия, Украина, мы всегда были вместе. Это пришли фашисты. Вот это Европа вся наслала нам всякую дрянь, вот этих бендеровцев. Украина хорошие люди, такие же, как и мы.
Okay, she says Ukraine is the same country as us, the same people, we are the same people, and the problem is Ukrainian government that they are fascists, and Europe brought them to make a horrible situation here.
You think that that the people over here in Donetsk can live peacefully with the Ukrainian government and the Russian government? Like, can there be peace? Because Ukraine says this is a part of Ukraine.
По вашему мнению, может ли быть мир между нами вот после этих событий?
Ой, я вас умоляю, с Германией же мирно, что натворили немцы? Миллионы людей перевели. Ну и что, и живем же, и ничего, и в Берлин ездят, а эти в Россию ездят, как-никак дружат. Это вот сейчас пошла такая система, вот это подняли этот фашизм, вот это что-то такое. Ну зачем? Ну кому это надо? Ну мы же все люди.
Okay, she said, for example, now we're living okay with Germany, we have good relations, so she believes that we can build good relations with Ukraine, of course.
Ukraine says this is a part of Ukraine. What does she have to say about that?
Украина говорит, что это часть Украины. Что вы об этом можете сказать?
Да, мы всегда Россия была, никакой мы части Украины не было. Это нас Хрущев придурочный взял Крым и Донбасс, подарил этому украинскому этому.
She's yelling on Khrushchev, the Soviet Union leader. He just gave a present to Ukraine with Donbass and Crimea. So she supposes it was always Russia, so she don't count her Ukrainian now.